Do you ever pause and ask yourself why some men rise like comets, blazing through the corridors of history and the chambers of wealth, while most drift quietly into the shadows of mediocrity? Not because they are smarter, nor because fortune has deigned to favor them, but because they have cultivated a hidden habit, an unseen ritual of the mind, a quiet discipline that whispers in the dark hours before dawn. This is not a habit of the body alone, nor of idle routines. It is the sacred architecture of thought, the invisible scaffolding that supports empires of ambition and empires of calm. It is here, in the liminal space between desire and restraint, that the alchemy of success begins. You may think you understand desire. You may believe that simply wishing, hoping, or even working hard is enough. But desire without mastery is like a flame without direction. It burns the hand that holds it and leaves nothing but ash in its wake. Napoleon Hill taught that desire, when fused with unwavering faith and repeated affirmation, becomes a magnetic force, pulling circumstances, people, and opportunities toward the one who dares to believe. Yet even Hill knew that desire alone is raw, untempered. Without control, without emotional discipline, it becomes a raging torrent, eroding the mind's clarity, scattering intention like leaves in a storm. Here is where Stoicism steps in, like a silent guardian over the inner citadel, reminding the aspirant that mastery of self precedes mastery of circumstance. Consider the mind of Marcus Aurelius as he rose to power, not by clamor or show, but by patient cultivation of reason, detachment, and unwavering focus on what could be controlled. The world would toss trials and tribulations, betrayals and losses, but his inner fortress remained untouched. And now imagine a man who combines this inner fortress with the fiery magnetism of Hill's laws, a being who can desire without desperation, who can imagine without illusion, who can act with unshakable persistence while remaining untouched by the turbulence of life's inevitable chaos. This hidden habit that 99% of successful people practice daily is not flashy. It does not announce itself in headlines or trending charts. It is practiced in silence, in the crucible of solitude, in the quiet negotiation between one's higher self and the restless, impatient ego. It is the daily commitment to observe the mind, to refine thought, to declare intent with the precision of a sculptor chiseling a statue from marble. Each thought is weighed. Each emotion is measured. Each action is aligned with a vision so compelling it becomes a gravitational force, shaping reality itself. Most people fear solitude because it confronts them with the truth of their own minds. They flee distraction, habit, and noise, because to sit in silence is to face the dissonance between desire and discipline. Yet the hidden habit thrives precisely in these moments of confrontation. It is the ritual of aligning your inner world with the outer, of reconciling fire with ice, ambition with serenity. Before breakfast, before the inbox, before the city awakens, they engage with this silent practice. They review, they imagine, they refine, they plan, not as a mechanical exercise, but as a sacred dialogue with the deepest currents of their psyche. In this practice, the subconscious becomes a conspirator rather than a saboteur. Napoleon Hill called it the seat of infinite intelligence, a domain where thought becomes reality and belief becomes action. But belief alone is hollow if the mind is enslaved by emotion, distracted by fear, or battered by the whims of circumstance. Here, Stoicism intercedes once more. The successful mind recognizes that not all that can happen must disturb the soul, that no external force has dominion over the inner citadel unless invited in. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is strategic clarity, a lens that allows the mind to perceive opportunity without panic, to act without obsession, to persist without despair. Daily, the most successful people perform an alchemy of mind. They begin with desire, vivid, urgent, uncompromising. They fuel it with faith, absolute, non-negotiable, impervious to doubt. They engage the imagination, not as idle fantasy, but as a rehearsal of reality, a vivid simulation of achievement that primes the mind for action. And then, like a Stoic sage, they temper this fire with reflection, with reason, with the recognition that impatience and emotional turbulence are enemies of manifestation. They do not act on every impulse, nor do they surrender to every setback. They have cultivated a rhythm, a disciplined cadence that balances intensity with composure, hunger with calm, ambition with virtue. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly commanded your own mind? When did you last sit in silence and confront the infinite potential and the infinite danger contained within your own thoughts? Most flee this confrontation, distracted by external noise, seduced by immediate gratification, sedated by routine. But those who rise above the rest embrace it daily. They do not wait for motivation, they create it. They do not chase fortune, they become worthy of it. And in that worthiness, in that quiet alignment of thought, feeling, and action, the unseen currents of the universe begin to bend toward them. There is a rhythm to this hidden habit. It begins with observation, noticing the mind's chatter without judgment, cataloging desires without attachment, measuring emotions without panic. Then comes affirmation, deliberate statements of intent that imprint themselves upon the subconscious mind as seeds planted in fertile soil. These statements are not empty words. They are declarations forged in conviction, imbued with clarity of purpose. Finally comes visualization, a rehearsal of reality so vivid it awakens the senses, mobilizes the body, and primes the spirit. This is the triad of mental alchemy: observation, affirmation, visualization, executed daily, executed with discipline, executed with faith and emotional mastery. The world reacts to those who master this rhythm. Opportunities align with precision, obstacles are reframed as instruction, and setbacks are transformed into catalysts for growth. Yet it is not luck, it is not charm, it is not mere intelligence, it is the deliberate, unrelenting cultivation of the mind's most sacred faculties: desire, faith, imagination, persistence, and control. And every day, without fail, those who succeed engage in this sacred habit, as naturally as breathing, as necessarily as eating, as invisibly as thought itself. Imagine now the emotional architecture required. You cannot pursue ambition with a mind enslaved by fear. You cannot manifest wealth with a heart ruled by anxiety. You cannot sustain vision without the stillness to endure contradiction, challenge, and delay. The Stoic teaches that the obstacle itself is the path, that trials are instruments of refinement. Napoleon Hill teaches that persistence is the vehicle of desire. And the hidden habit fuses these teachings. It is the daily practice of embracing challenge while nurturing unwavering vision, of enduring discomfort while sustaining unshakable belief, of moving forward while remaining rooted in inner calm. This habit is forged in the shadows, away from accolades, away from applause. It thrives in early mornings and late nights, in moments of quiet reflection, in the space between exhaustion and persistence. It demands emotional literacy, the courage to name fear, to acknowledge doubt, to feel pain without surrendering to it. It demands philosophical rigor, the discipline to weigh every thought, to measure every desire, to align every action with purpose. It demands spiritual integrity, the recognition that the outer world will mirror the inner state, and that mastery of circumstance begins with mastery of self. And yet, it is not mystical. It is not esoteric. It is practical, repeatable, observable. Those who practice it daily accumulate an invisible capital, a momentum of mind, a gravitational pull toward excellence. They become architects of reality, engineers of destiny, wielders of thought as power. The habit is invisible to the casual observer, yet it defines the trajectory of a life. It is a quiet revolution waged within, the conquest of desire by reason, the alchemy of thought into wealth, influence, and serenity. Do you feel the weight of this realization? That the mind you inhabit, this vessel of thought and emotion, is both the battlefield and the prize. That each morning, each moment, each decision either builds this invisible empire or erodes it. The hidden habit is not an option. It is the mechanism by which a few men rise and the rest remain tethered to circumstance. It is not grand gestures, nor flamboyant strategies, nor fleeting inspiration. It is the relentless, silent mastery of the mind, a daily ritual where desire is fanned into purpose, faith is reinforced into certainty, imagination is channeled into creation, and reason tempers every impulse. Those who fail to grasp it wander, scattered and exhausted, their energies diffused across the whims of the world. Those who embrace it rise with deliberate power, unshaken by storms, guided by vision, disciplined by habit, and anchored in calm. The mind becomes a weapon of precision, a force of nature, an instrument of manifestation. And the most striking paradox, in cultivating desire with discipline, in asserting ambition with serenity, in commanding thought with reason, they discover not just external success, but internal sovereignty. They do not merely achieve, they transcend. So now I ask you again, do you wish to rise or to drift? Do you seek mastery of circumstance, or will you allow circumstance to master you? Can you dedicate yourself to the quiet ritual that 99% of successful people engage in daily, to sit in the forge of your own mind and temper thought, emotion, and vision until they align with unbreakable intent? The choice is simple, yet profound, for the mind is the crucible and habit is the flame. Those who dare to themselves here daily, in silence, in reflection, in unwavering practice, will awaken a power that the world cannot grant and fortune cannot deny. And so the journey begins, not in grand declarations, nor in the applause of the crowd, but in the stillness of dawn, in the disciplined alignment of thought, desire, and belief. This is the first step into the hidden architecture of success, where Napoleon Hill's vision meets Stoic serenity, and the ordinary is transmuted into the extraordinary. The path is not easy. It is not glamorous. It is demanding, relentless, and sacred. And yet, for those who persist, it becomes the greatest pleasure. The exhilaration of watching the mind, once scattered and restless, become a singular instrument of destiny, a silent force that shapes reality, an unassailable citadel from which all achievement flows. Here, in this first act of daily mastery, you learn the secret of the hidden habit. You learn that ambition without calm is chaos, that desire without discipline is futility, that imagination without reason is fantasy. You learn to cultivate your inner citadel, to harness the infinite intelligence of the subconscious, to align thought with purpose, and to awaken a magnetism that attracts opportunity, wealth, and influence. You step into a rhythm that will govern every decision, every action, every thought, every emotion, and ultimately the trajectory of your life. And so I leave you with this question, not as a challenge, but as an invitation. Will you enter the forge of your own mind, sit in the quiet of early morning, confront desire and fear, and emerge daily, shaped, sharpened, aligned, and unstoppable? Will you claim the hidden habit that 99% of successful people practice, and through it, claim mastery not only over circumstance, but over yourself? For in this habit lies the secret not merely of wealth, but of sovereignty, not merely of achievement, but of the transformation of the soul. You have asked yourself the question, and yet the true confrontation begins now, not with words, not with fleeting inspiration, but with the quiet, relentless inspection of your mind. To manifest the life of those rare individuals who ascend beyond circumstance, you must first understand that the mind is not a passive instrument, but a battlefield. Desire fights against doubt, imagination struggles against fear, persistence clashes with impatience, and emotion contests with reason. Every thought, every impulse, every hesitation is a skirmish, and those who succeed are not those who avoid conflict, but those who engage it deliberately, strategically, and without surrender. Napoleon Hill insisted that the subconscious mind is the vehicle of manifestation. It is a silent, invisible force that responds not to the noise of the world, but to the clarity, intensity, and consistency of thought. The subconscious obeys the mind's most dominant commands, yet it cannot distinguish between reasoned intention and chaotic longing. Herein lies the paradox. To awaken this force, desire alone is insufficient. You must temper it with clarity, sharpen it with visualization, and restrain it with emotional control. Otherwise, you unleash a storm that scatters rather than constructs, burns rather than illuminates. The Stoic mind intervenes here. Reason becomes the chisel that shapes raw ambition into a coherent, unstoppable trajectory. We consider the act of visualization. It is often dismissed as wishful thinking, yet when executed with precision, it is a rehearsal of reality itself. Close your eyes and imagine with perfect detail the life you intend to lead. Feel it in your bones. Hear the cadence of your achievements. Sense the texture of the reality you are constructing. Napoleon Hill described this as living in the end, a state in which the subconscious mind is convinced that the outcome is inevitable. Yet visualization without discipline is a mirage. The Stoic teaches that it must be paired with emotional detachment, the serene understanding that the external world will bend in time, that obstacles are inevitable, and that your inner stability must remain intact regardless of the outcome. The fusion of these principles creates a paradoxical state: burning desire coupled with unshakable calm, ambition paired with serenity, intent executed without panic. Persistence is the pulse of this hidden habit. Desire without action is fantasy. Imagination without labor is hollow. Yet persistence is not mere stubbornness. It is the daily affirmation that no setback, no betrayal, no momentary failure can disturb the alignment of thought, belief, and action. It is waking each morning and returning to the mental forge, engaging in the ritual that sculpts the mind into an instrument of precise, unwavering creation. Here, emotional mastery is crucial. The mind will scream in protest, the body will cry for ease, the world will conspire with chaos. To persist is to recognize the natural turbulence of existence, accept it without complaint, and act anyway. This is not brute force. It is the quiet calculation of a mind that understands that time bends toward those who are steady, not frantic. Faith is the oil that lubricates the machinery of persistence. Hill spoke of faith not as blind belief, but as the absolute conviction that the outcome you desire is already present in the invisible currents of the universe. Yet faith without control is obsession. It consumes the mind, rattles the nerves, and blinds judgment. The Stoic mind tempers faith with reason, teaching that certainty exists not in external validation, but in internal alignment. When belief is grounded in disciplined thought, reinforced through daily affirmation, and observed without emotional turbulence, it becomes a magnetic field. It pulls toward you the people, circumstances, and opportunities that correspond to your inner conviction. Faith in this context is not wishful hoping. It is the confident, serene expectation of inevitable manifestation. Desire, faith, visualization, persistence, these are the ingredients, but the practice is a ritual. Imagine the morning before the world awakens. Silence surrounds you, a vacuum of distraction. You sit, eyes closed, observing the mind's currents. Thought drifts, impulses arise, doubt whispers, and yet you do not react impulsively. You do not chase each emotion. Instead, you acknowledge, measure, and release. Then you declare intent, clearly and vividly. You see, feel, and hear the reality you intend to construct. You rehearse challenges and imagine overcoming them. You step through setbacks before they arrive. This is mental discipline, a daily ritual practiced invisibly yet profoundly, shaping your subconscious to execute your vision with precision. Control of emotion is the silent hero of this process. Desire alone ignites, but it also burns. Doubt undermines, fear sabotages, impatience distracts. The Stoic teaches that no external circumstance can disturb the mind unless permission is granted. To cultivate this mastery, you must practice observation without judgment, response without impulse, and detachment without apathy. You must feel the intensity of desire without losing the clarity of reason. You must embrace ambition while retaining serenity. Every successful individual you admire has done this. They have learned to inhabit the paradox of being both fervent and calm, relentless and measured. Now let us speak of vision, not the fleeting, nebulous hopes that drift across idle minds, but the vivid, unwavering, meticulously constructed vision that shapes the entire trajectory of life. Vision without discipline is fantasy. Vision without desire is empty. Vision without faith is impotent. Vision without persistence is abandoned. And vision without emotional mastery is derailed. To practice this hidden habit daily is to construct your vision as an inviolable mental citadel. You see your future with unwavering clarity. Anticipate obstacles, rehearse solutions, and align every thought and action to this map of destiny. This is not daydreaming, it is strategic, disciplined, and emotionally calibrated mental engineering. Consider also the principle of self-mastery. All external success is derivative of internal sovereignty. The man who cannot master his thoughts, control his impulses, regulate his emotions, and direct his energy toward purposeful action is at the mercy of circumstance. The Stoic path is a path of sovereignty, teaching that true power is the capacity to act in accordance with reason, regardless of chaos, loss, or provocation. Napoleon Hill's teachings complement this. Success is not conferred externally, but engineered internally through belief, persistence, imagination, and alignment with the subconscious. The daily practice of the hidden habit is the laboratory of self-mastery. Here, the mind is refined, harpened and aligned with the forces of creation. There is a subtle, almost imperceptible rhythm to this daily practice. It begins with stillness, observation, and detachment. It proceeds to affirmation, visualization, and mental rehearsal. It continues with deliberate action, persistence through discomfort, and reflection upon each outcome. It loops day after day, forming neural pathways of mastery, magnetic currents of faith, and a resilient architecture of desire tempered by reason. This rhythm is invisible to those who are untrained, yet it governs the trajectory of those who practice it religiously. It is the heartbeat of extraordinary achievement and the silent driver of inner peace. The world presents distractions like shadows, flickering at the edge of perception, attempting to pull attention away from the alignment of mind and purpose. Every notification, every temptation, every complaint is a test of this daily ritual. The mind that is disciplined and aligned will observe and release. The mind that is undisciplined will fracture and scatter. The hidden habit is not protected by luck. It is protected by consistency, discipline, and relentless self-observation. It thrives in the mundane, the repetitive, the invisible moments when no one is watching and the soul is tested by silence. Desire must be ignited with precision. Faith must be nurtured without frenzy. Imagination must be directed with clarity. Persistence must be executed without desperation. Emotion must be controlled without suppression. Vision must be refined without distraction. Self-mastery must be cultivated without indulgence. These are not abstract ideals. They are practical daily exercises performed invisibly by those who rise above mediocrity. They do not stumble into success. They engineer it, moment by moment, thought by thought, day by day. And so, the mind that engages in this hidden habit becomes both an instrument and a fortress. It is the instrument of creation, translating thought into reality, vision into action, and desire into accomplishment. It is the fortress of control, protecting the individual from the chaos of the world, the turbulence of emotion, and the deception of fleeting impulses. Those who cultivate it daily walk a path of unshakable power, silent, invisible, relentless, and precise. To practice this habit is to engage with your own mind as a sculptor engages with marble, a general with the battlefield, a master with fire. It is to treat thought as sacred, emotion as a resource, desire as a tool, and vision as a map. It is to awaken the infinite potential of the subconscious while simultaneously commanding reason, patience, and serenity. It is, in essence, to become the architect of reality, the sovereign of the self, and the magnet for all circumstances that correspond to disciplined, visionary ambition. Ask yourself now, in the silence of your own mind, are you willing to do this daily? Are you prepared to sit in stillness, confront desire, cultivate faith, refine imagination, enforce persistence, and regulate emotion with the rigor of a philosopher and the vision of a master? Are you willing to endure discomfort, embrace challenge, and engage with your own consciousness in the relentless pursuit of alignment, mastery, and inevitable manifestation? The hidden habit is patient. It is unforgiving. It is invisible. And it is the decisive factor between those who rise and those who drift. For those who embrace it, the world will appear not as a series of random events, but as a reflection of their inner state. Opportunities will align, obstacles will instruct, failures will refine, and successes will compound. Every thought, every action, every choice will be amplified by the disciplined repetition of this sacred practice. The mind will no longer be a chaotic, reactive instrument, but a precise, creative force, a weapon of focus, a magnet of manifestation, a citadel of calm, and so, as the dawn of each new day arrives, the practitioner of this habit does not stumble blindly into circumstance. They rise deliberately, engage with their inner world, rehearse outcomes, refine belief, and calibrate emotion. They become fluent in the language of their own mind, conversant with the laws of desire, faith, and persistence. They are both warrior and philosopher, ambitious and serene, visionary and disciplined. This is the paradox of mastery, the ability to burn with purpose while remaining unshakably calm, to move through the world with ferocity while anchored in the fortress of self-control. The mind is a labyrinth, infinite in its corridors, shadows stretching into corners unseen, echoes of thought and memory bouncing against the walls of consciousness. And yet within this labyrinth lies the gateway to all achievement, all mastery, all power. The hidden habit that 99% of successful people cultivate is not a routine. It is the deliberate mapping of this labyrinth, the careful illumination of its dark passages, and the conscious orchestration of its infinite energies toward a single unyielding end. The practitioner does not stumble blindly. They walk with lantern in hand, tracing each thought, observing each impulse, and aligning every internal current with the architecture of success. Napoleon Hill taught that the subconscious mind is both servant and master. It obeys the dominant thoughts, yet it also reflects the undisciplined desires of the untrained mind, magnifying fear, doubt, and distraction. To command it requires a precision that borders on the sacred. Daily engagement with this hidden habit is the act of programming the subconscious, embedding intention so deeply that the mind acts even when consciousness rests. Yet this programming is not coercion, it is alignment. The Stoic mind instructs us to cultivate calm, clarity, and reason, for the subconscious obeys not frantic impulse, but consistent, disciplined command. Desire tempered by detachment, vision tempered by reason, belief tempered by emotional equilibrium. This is the formula of the hidden habit, executed daily, invisibly, yet with transformative power. Consider the subtlety of thought itself. Most humans allow the mind to drift, to follow the impulses of the external world, to react to events rather than orchestrate them. The successful do not merely think, they command thought, they observe, redirect, and refine each mental image, each affirmation, each internal dialogue. Their imagination is not a playground, but a laboratory, a rehearsal space where the impossible is tested, refined, and internalized as inevitability. They feel the future as tangibly as they feel the present, and in that feeling the subconscious begins to act. Here lies the alchemy. Thought transforms into action, visualization into opportunity, belief into reality. But this transformation is fragile. It requires the daily discipline of the hidden habit, the repeated shaping of the mind, and the cultivation of inner calm against the constant assault of doubt, distraction, and emotional turbulence. Persistence, the heartbeat of achievement, demands more than physical action. It demands mental resilience. Every morning, every night, every moment of stillness is an opportunity to rehearse, to reinforce, to recalibrate. Obstacles arise as they must, yet the disciplined mind does not flinch. It observes, adjusts, and continues. Failure is a teacher, delay a test, opposition a mirror. The Stoic principle is clear: the obstacle is the path. Every difficulty is an opportunity to exercise control, to refine thought, to deepen discipline. Napoleon Hill teaches that persistence is not stubbornness, but the consistent alignment of action with desire and belief. When fused, the two principles, persistence and emotional mastery, create a force unstoppable by circumstance, impervious to chaos, and magnetic to opportunity. Emotion is both ally and adversary. Desire, when unbridled, can burn with an intensity that consumes rather than constructs. Fear, if unobserved, can paralyze even the most vivid vision. Impatience can scatter intention across 1,000 trivial distractions. The hidden habit is the daily calibration of emotion, a gentle but relentless education of the soul. Observe without attachment, feel without surrender, engage without frenzy. This is the paradoxical power of emotional mastery. The mind burns with purpose while remaining unshakably calm. The heart beats with urgency while untouched by chaos. The will persists with clarity while untouched by fear. And then comes the refinement of thought itself. Every idea, every internal monologue, every fleeting mental image is scrutinized for alignment with vision. Are your thoughts conduits of creation or whispers of doubt? Are they statements of power or murmurs of mediocrity? The practitioner of the hidden habit observes these patterns daily, interrupting the automatic, refining the intentional, and imprinting upon the subconscious the architecture of their desired reality. Thought becomes not a fleeting spark, but a river of force, carving channels through circumstance, shaping opportunity, and sculpting life itself. Consider desire in its purest form. It is not craving, nor greed, nor desperate longing. It is a relentless, burning clarity of purpose, paired with the disciplined understanding that manifestation requires more than intensity. It requires alignment. You cannot will the world into obedience through emotion alone. You must command thought, direct imagination, cultivate faith, temper impatience, and act with precision. Here the Stoic principle intervenes: control the internal, and the external aligns naturally. The disciplined mind becomes a magnet for reality, a beacon to opportunity, a vessel through which the currents of success flow with inevitability. The imagination is the rehearsal stage. Close your eyes and see every detail of the life you intend to construct, not merely the outcome, but the steps, the obstacles, the sensations, the nuances. Hear the sounds, smell the atmosphere, feel the textures. Walk through challenges before they arise, navigate difficulties before they appear. Anticipate resistance before it is encountered. This is the subtle genius of daily mental practice. The mind becomes conditioned to victory, trained to respond with calm efficiency, and primed to transform abstract vision into concrete action. Imagination wielded without control is fantasy. Imagination wielded with discipline, tempered by reason, is creation. Faith is the invisible force, absolute, unshakable, unwavering. Yet it is not naive. It is disciplined, informed, and anchored in the daily practice of alignment. Faith does not blind the mind, it sharpens it. It does not suppress doubt, it controls it. The subconscious responds not to idle hope, but to repeated affirmation, visualization, and unwavering mental focus. Hill taught that what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. The hidden habit ensures that the mind conceives with clarity, believes with conviction, and acts with discipline, allowing faith to become the engine of manifestation, the silent architect of destiny. Action, deliberate and calculated, is the final pillar. The mind alone is insufficient. Dreams must be executed. Vision must be made real. Desire must translate into measurable, intentional, repeated steps. And here the Stoic principle reminds us external conditions will resist. Events will conspire to derail. People will misunderstand, doubt, and obstruct. But the disciplined mind, rehearsed daily in the hidden habit, moves with calm persistence, absorbing resistance without losing direction, adapting without panic, acting without hesitation, and accumulating momentum with surgical precision. Every morning, the practitioner sits in quiet reflection, mapping desire, rehearsing vision, observing thought, and calibrating emotion. Every evening, they review, refine, and recommit, ensuring that subconscious alignment is maintained, that intention is reinforced, and that the inner architecture of mind remains intact. This is the invisible work, the unseen labor that compounds silently, daily, relentlessly, until mastery emerges as natural consequence. The world sees only the results, the fortune, the influence, the calm authority. It does not see the daily ritual, the sacred discipline, the unyielding attention to thought, emotion, and vision. And yet, the hidden habit is simple, if not easy. It requires only presence, repetition, and ruthless honesty with oneself. Observe the mind, affirm intention, visualize outcome, persist through resistance, calibrate emotion, control impulse, align action, repeat. Each day compounds upon the last, building an invisible momentum that carries the practitioner forward with the inevitability of gravity. Those who neglect it remain tethered to chaos, scattered by circumstance, and subject to the whims of an undisciplined mind. Those who embrace it become architects of reality, sovereign over self and unstoppable in manifestation. Self-mastery is the crucible in which all success is forged. Desire without discipline burns without light. Persistence without control fractures under pressure. Faith without reason is folly. Vision without rehearsal is illusion. Action without alignment is wasted effort. But when these forces are synthesized daily, invisibly, relentlessly, they become a singular instrument, precise, powerful, and unstoppable. Here the mind is both weapon and sanctuary. The soul is both student and master. The practitioner is both fire and calm, ambition and serenity, relentless yet unshakable. Ask yourself now, are you willing to do this daily? Are you ready to sit in silence, confront your thoughts, refine your desires, temper your emotions, and align your mind with unwavering vision? Will you cultivate faith through discipline, rehearse outcomes with imagination, persist through discomfort, and act with serene determination? The hidden habit is patient. It is exacting. It is invisible. But it is the crucible in which the extraordinary is forged, the engine by which the inevitable becomes reality, and the secret practiced daily by those who rise above the rest. The mind is a battlefield, yet it is also a temple. Within its silent halls, every thought, every impulse, every emotion leaves a trace. And those who ascend to mastery understand that the accumulation of these traces determines the architecture of destiny. The hidden habit, the ritual practiced daily by the 99% of those who succeed, is the deliberate sculpting of this internal landscape. They do not leave their minds to drift on currents of circumstance, nor to be buffeted by the storms of fear and doubt. They engage with it consciously and relentlessly, as a general inspects the terrain before battle, as a master hones a blade, as a philosopher maps the cosmos of thought. Napoleon Hill spoke of desire as the starting point of all achievement. Yet desire alone is chaotic, raw, and dangerous. It must be tamed, directed, and amplified through faith, persistence, and imagination. The Stoics understood that the mind is subject to turbulence, fear, frustration, greed, and envy are all storms that can overwhelm he untrained. The practitioner of the hidden habit understands that desire without discipline is a fire that consumes itself. Desire fused with daily ritual becomes a force that reshapes reality. They awaken each day with intention, not with impulse. They rehearse victory, confront challenge, and align the subconscious to obey deliberate commands, not wandering whims. Observation is the first act of mastery. The mind must be watched like a garden, noting which seeds take root, which weeds sprout, and which patterns repeat. Every thought is a seed, every feeling a current. Most men allow the mind to drift, to scatter energy across fear, doubt, and distraction. The disciplined individual observes without judgment, cataloging desires, identifying limiting beliefs, and intercepting impulses that would derail alignment. This is quiet, invisible work, yet it is the work that compounds into extraordinary power. Napoleon Hill's laws of success are invoked here not through mechanics alone, but through awareness. The mind obeys the dominant, repeated, and controlled thoughts that the conscious self cultivates. Visualization is the rehearsal of reality. It is not daydreaming, it is mental engineering. The practitioner sees, in perfect detail, the life they intend to create. They imagine not just outcomes, but the steps, the challenges, the obstacles, the solutions. They feel the textures, hear the sounds, and inhabit the reality of success as though it is already achieved. And yet they temper it with Stoic detachment. The world may resist, circumstances may challenge, and outcomes may be delayed. They do not panic. They do not despair. They persist in alignment, maintaining inner LM, while the external world tests their resolve. Here, desire becomes disciplined, imagination becomes strategy, and faith becomes magnetic force. Persistence is the pulse of the hidden habit. It is not blind stubbornness, but the daily, unwavering return to ritual, reflection, and alignment. Obstacles arise as they must. Failures appear as they inevitably do. Yet the mind trained in this habit responds with observation, adaptation, and renewed action. Emotional mastery is crucial. Impatience, frustration, and despair are intercepted before they destabilize intention. The Stoic principle reminds us it is not events that disturb the mind, but judgment. To persist is to act regardless of chaos, anchored in reason and aligned with vision. Hill's principle reinforces this. Repeated, aligned action directed toward desire compounds into inevitable manifestation. Faith is the engine, subtle yet profound. It is the conviction that your vision is already embedded in the currents of reality, awaiting alignment with deliberate action. Yet faith without discipline is obsession, fragile and destructive. The hidden habit ensures faith is tempered by reason, observation, and rehearsal. Each morning, belief is renewed through visualization, affirmation, and reflection. The subconscious absorbs these signals, reinforcing alignment and transforming thought into magnetic action. The mind that practices this daily becomes a force, drawing circumstances, opportunities, and people toward it with the precision of inevitability. Emotional mastery is the silent core of power. Desire must burn without consuming, ambition must drive without desperation, and action must persist without frenzy. AR is observed, but not obeyed. Doubt is noted, but not indulged. Anger is measured, and frustration is converted into clarity. The mind learns to inhabit paradox, intensity and calm, ambition and patience, desire and detachment. The practitioner's inner world becomes a citadel, impervious to chaos, unshakable by circumstance, and magnetic to aligned opportunity. Action, deliberate and intentional, is the visible manifestation of inner alignment. Thought alone is insufficient. Faith alone is idle. Visualization alone is fantasy. Every step, every decision, every measure of effort is executed with awareness, purpose, and discipline. The Stoic understanding of fate and external resistance informs strategy. Obstacles are inevitable, yet irrelevant to the internal alignment of the mind. Napoleon Hill's law of persistence ensures that repeated action compounds until the invisible architecture of the mind becomes visible in results. The hidden habit fuses these principles. Disciplined internal mastery guides precise external execution, creating unstoppable momentum. Self-mastery is the crucible in which the extraordinary is forged. Desire without control burns without direction. Faith without discipline wavers. Imagination without rehearsal dissolves. Persistence without alignment fractures. Action without observation is wasted. Daily practice of the hidden habit ensures all elements converge. Thought becomes precise. Emotion becomes a resource. Vision becomes a map. And action becomes an instrument of inevitable manifestation. The mind, once chaotic, becomes a weapon of clarity, focus, and magnetic force. The soul, once scattered, becomes anchored, disciplined, and sovereign. The rhythm of this habit is invisible yet undeniable. Morning reflection, observation of thought, affirmation, visualization, rehearsal of challenge, calibration of emotion, deliberate action, evening review and recommitment. Repeated daily, it compounds, building momentum in silence. Opportunity aligns, obstacles instruct, failure refines, success amplifies. The world may remain oblivious to the internal labor, but results manifest with visible precision. The hidden habit is the invisible engine of extraordinary life. Practiced daily, repeated relentlessly, executed with discipline and emotional mastery, the mind of the successful is a paradoxical force, burning with desire, yet calm, relentless in pursuit, yet serene, ambitious in vision, yet detached from outcome. This is not chance, nor luck, nor superficial intelligence. It is the product of daily ritual, deliberate alignment, and disciplined mastery of thought, emotion, and action. Napoleon Hill and the Stoics converge here. Desire, faith, visualization, persistence, and action are harmonized with reason, emotional control, detachment, and acceptance of circumstance. The fusion produces a mind that is unstoppable in manifestation and unshakable in serenity. Now consider the metaphysical implications. The universe responds not to chaos nor to whim, but to alignment. The subconscious mind obeys precise, repeated instruction. Desire becomes magnetic only when disciplined. Faith becomes powerful only when anchored in reason. Action compounds only when aligned with vision. Emotional turbulence is the enemy, calm mastery is the ally. The hidden habit is the daily cultivation of alignment between inner state and outer manifestation. To neglect it is to drift, to embrace it is to harness invisible forces, transforming thought into reality, vision into results, and desire into destiny. The greatest paradox emerges here. The more disciplined the mind, the more intense the desire may burn, yet the calmer the individual remains, strength without frenzy, ambition without desperation, intensity without chaos. This is the secret that 99% of successful people practice daily. It is invisible, subtle, yet decisive. Every day they sit in the forge of their own consciousness, observing, aligning, affirming, visualizing, rehearsing, and acting. Every day they refine thought, control emotion, persist with clarity and direct energy toward inevitable manifestation. And over time, the invisible compounding of these practices produces extraordinary results in wealth, influence, character, and peace. Do you now begin to understand the depth of what is required? That success is not an accident, nor a result of superficial technique, nor of temporary motivation? That it is forged in the hidden, silent, relentless work of mind, emotion, and disciplined ritual? To rise into the 1% who master life requires this: daily practice of the hidden habit, relentless alignment of thought with vision, disciplined control of emotion, unshakable faith, precise imagination, and persistent action. These are the levers by which reality bends, by which the extraordinary is achieved, and by which the mind, once chaotic, becomes a citadel of unstoppable force. The world is unrelenting, indifferent, chaotic. Those who are unprepared are swept away by circumstance, driven by impulse, and lost in distraction. Those who practice, see the hidden habit daily, become anchored, focused, and aligned. They do not merely react, they create. They do not stumble into opportunity, they attract it. They do not surrender to fear, they channel it. They do not disperse energy, they concentrate it. Their lives are instruments of will, manifestation, and serenity. A fusion of Hill's laws and Stoic mastery, practiced invisibly daily and with relentless discipline. The mind is more than thought. It is a universe infinite in potential, yet perilous in its chaos. Every idea, every belief, every fleeting impulse is a current in this invisible ocean. And the hidden habit that 99% of successful people practice daily is the deliberate navigation of this ocean, the conscious orchestration of every current, every wave, every turbulence, into a channel that propels destiny forward. They do not leave their inner world to chance. They observe, they refine, they align, they dominate. They transform desire into magnetism, vision into inevitability, and thought into action that bends reality toward its course. Napoleon Hill taught that the subconscious is the great alchemist. turning repeated thought and belief into tangible reality. Yet the subconscious obeys only the signals it receives. Most minds are cluttered, chaotic, unobserved. Desire is scattered, fear is amplified, doubt is magnified. The practitioner of the hidden habit intercepts this chaos, constructing an invisible framework of alignment. Each morning, each quiet reflection, each deliberate visualization imprints patterns into the subconscious. These are not idle exercises. They are instructions to the mind, repeated until the machinery of reality itself obeys the architecture of thought. Consider the intensity of imagination. It is not fantasy, but rehearsal. Rehearsal of reality as it will be, not as it appears. Every sense, every nuance, every obstacle anticipated, every solution rehearsed, is internalized until the subconscious acts in concert with conscious intent. The mind, conditioned in this way, no longer merely reacts to life, it commands it. Yet imagination is dangerous if untethered. Desire without discipline burns uncontrollably. Hope without action is illusion. Belief without calmness is obsession. The Stoic principle tempers imagination, teaching that calm observation, emotional regulation, and reason are the channels through which the fire of desire can manifest without consuming. The hidden habit fuses these principles, intensity controlled, ambition disciplined, and visualization executed with serene authority. Persistence emerges not as brute effort, but as relentless, disciplined engagement. Each day is a rehearsal, a calibration, a refinement. Obstacles arise as they inevitably will, failures appear, inevitable and unyielding. Yet the disciplined mind observes without panic, adapts without fear, and continues without deviation. Hill emphasized persistence as the vehicle of desire. The Stoic teaches that external circumstances are irrelevant to the state of the mind. The fusion of these insights is the heartbeat of the hidden habit, repeated alignment of thought, emotion, and action, unaffected by chaos, undeterred by resistance, and directed by vision. Emotional sovereignty is the silent driver of power. Most are enslaved to fear, envy, anger, and desire. These currents buffet the mind, scattering intention, diluting focus, and extinguishing momentum. The practitioner of the hidden habit observes emotion without attachment, transforms energy without losing intensity, and channels impulse into constructive, aligned action. Desire burns without consuming. Ambition drives without desperation. Faith persists without irrationality. Every feeling is a tool, every impulse an energy vector, every sensation a resource for construction rather than distraction. Now consider the alignment of vision and action. It is not enough to dream. The subconscious must be trained, the mind disciplined, and the emotions calibrated to match. Daily engagement with this hidden habit ensures that each thought, each affirmation, each visualization, each rehearsal of challenge, and each act of deliberate movement aligns with the architecture of desired reality. The world may resist, circumstances may oppose, delay may frustrate, yet the disciplined mind moves with inevitability, immune to the chaos that ensnares the untrained. Hill and the Stoics converge here. Belief, desire, visualization, persistence, emotional mastery, and reason fuse into unstoppable momentum. The ritual of daily alignment is subtle yet potent. Morning reflection, silent observation of thought, affirmation of intent, visualization of outcome, rehearsal of obstacles, calibration of emotional energy, deliberate execution of action, and evening review, repeated daily, invisibly, relentlessly, compounds into a force invisible to the casual eye, yet decisive in shaping life. Opportunity is drawn, resistance is reframed, failure instructs, success amplifies. The mind becomes both architect and instrument, the soul both student and mast. The individual both fire and calm, relentless yet serene, ambitious yet detached. The metaphysical aspect is undeniable. Energy follows thought. Belief molds circumstance. Desire, disciplined and aligned, generates magnetic currents that attract people, events, and opportunity. The subconscious obeys patterns, repetition, and intensity. Those who neglect daily practice drift in chaos, scattered by fear, distraction, and inconsistency. Those who embrace the hidden habit daily become invisible architects of reality, manipulating currents of circumstance with precise intention and serene authority. The paradox is profound. The more intensely desire burns, the calmer the individual must remain, the greater the ambition, the more disciplined the mind must be, the more vivid the vision, the more controlled the emotion. Consider now the weight of choice. Each day presents a fork: to engage in the hidden habit or drift, to observe, align, rehearse, and act with deliberate purpose, or surrender to chaos, distraction, and impatience. To cultivate the mind as a citadel, the soul as a fortress, and the subconscious as an obedient instrument, or to scatter energy in reaction to trivialities. Every decision compounds. Every moment of discipline strengthens invisible currents. Every lapse weakens alignment and erodes momentum. The practitioner understands that mastery is forged not in grand gestures, but in repetition, consistency, and invisible, deliberate action. Faith is not blind, it is anchored in discipline. Repeated visualization, affirmation, and rehearsal train the subconscious to act in harmony with conscious intent. Emotional mastery ensures that desire is expressed without frenzy, that ambition persists without desperation, that fear informs without dominating. Persistence transforms repeated, aligned action into unstoppable momentum. And action itself, guided by observation, reason, and alignment, converts the invisible architecture of thought into tangible reality. This is the essence of the hidden habit: repeated, disciplined, daily practice of mental alchemy, emotional sovereignty, and strategic action. The practitioner moves through life differently. Circumstances are not threats, but instruments. Obstacles are not barriers, but lessons. Delay is not frustration, but rehearsal. Opposition is not resistance, but testing. The hidden habit conditions the mind to act decisively, persist through adversity, maintain serenity, and attract aligned circumstances. Every thought, every feeling, every act is harmonized with vision. The subconscious becomes a loyal servant, the mind a precise instrument, and the soul an unshakable citadel. Now the paradox deepens. The more disciplined the mind, the more freely desire may burn. The more persistent the action, the more serene the soul becomes. Intensity without calm is destructive. Calm without intensity is inert. The hidden habit fuses these into a singular rhythm: desire controlled, ambition disciplined, faith anchored, visualization vivid, persistence unwavering, emotion calibrated, and action precise. This rhythm, practiced daily, is invisible to observers, yet decisive in shaping life, wealth, influence, and inner sovereignty. Ask yourself, are you prepared to enter this rhythm daily, to observe your mind, rehearse your vision, refine desire, calibrate emotion, act with precision, and persist through adversity? To sit in silence, alone with thought, commanding the subconscious, aligning action with intention, and sculpting life as deliberately as a master sculptor carves marble? The hidden habit is invisible, relentless, and sacred. It is the crucible in which extraordinary lives are forged, the invisible engine that converts thought into reality, vision into action, and desire into destiny. Those who embrace it become architects of life. They move with inevitability. They attract opportunity. They convert setbacks into instruction. They act decisively while remaining serene. They are both fire and calm, ambition and discipline, vision and execution. The world may not see the invisible labor, yet it will witness the results: wealth, influence, mastery, and inner peace. The hidden habit, practiced daily, is the decisive factor separating those who rise from those who drift. Have you ever felt the weight of your own potential pressing against the limits of circumstance? The quiet insistence of possibility, whispering in moments of solitude that you are capable of more than the world will admit. It is here, in the stillness before action, in the silent observation of your mind, that the hidden habit begins to reveal its true power. Daily mastery is not about fleeting motivation, nor external validation, nor the applause of the world. It is about the deliberate, relentless, sacred engagement with your own consciousness, shaping thought, refining emotion, aligning desire, and translating vision into unstoppable action. The mind that has been disciplined daily becomes both an instrument and a fortress. Desire burns without consuming. Ambition drives without desperatio. Faith persists without irrationality. Action flows without hesitation. The subconscious obeys the repeated, deliberate, and disciplined instructions of a consciousness aligned with purpose. Obstacles are transformed into teachers, delay into rehearsal, opposition into sharpening. Fortune is neither granted nor withheld. It is drawn irresistibly toward those who have trained themselves in the hidden habit. Here lies the secret practiced by 99% of the world's most successful people. A mastery of self before mastery of circumstance. Every morning, before the noise of the world intrudes, the practitioner engages in ritual. They observe the mind, every impulse, every doubt, every fleeting desire, and choose alignment over chaos. They declare intent with clarity and conviction, planting seeds in the fertile soil of the subconscious. They visualize outcomes in vivid detail, rehearsing not just victory, but every obstacle and solution that may arise. Faith is reinforced, anchored in reason and tempered by calm. Emotion is calibrated, transformed from potential distraction into kinetic energy. And they act not sporadically, not impulsively, but deliberately, each step a reflection of internal mastery. This is the crucible of transformation. Here, ambition meets serenity, desire meets discipline, imagination meets reason. The hidden habit is not glamorous, not recognized, not celebrated. It is invisible, it is silent, it is relentless. Yet in its daily practice lies the alchemy of extraordinary life. Wealth, influence, mastery, and peace are not the rewards of luck or charm. They are the inevitable result of thought disciplined, emotion refined, and action aligned with vision. The universe bends to those who have aligned themselves internally, because the external world is a mirror of the inner state. Persistence is the pulse. Every obstacle tests it, every delay challenges it, every failure instructs it. Yet the mind that has rehearsed daily, aligned daily, acted daily, persists with serene inevitability. The Stoic understands that circumstance cannot disturb the prepared mind. Napoleon Hill teaches that repeated, aligned action transforms desire into reality. The fusion is unstoppable momentum, intention executed with clarity, emotion calibrated with precision, and action reinforced by disciplined belief. This is the hidden habit, the silent engine behind all extraordinary achievement. Emotional mastery is the silent axis upon which this transformation turns. Fear is observed, not obeyed. Doubt is catalogued, not indulged. Anger is measured, not unleashed. Desire is fueled, not scattered. The practitioner moves through life like a general, surveying the battlefield, calm, aware, intentional, and inexorable. The mind is no longer a chaotic instrument, it is a precise weapon. The soul is no longer reactive, it is sovereign. The body is no longer a vessel of impulse, it is an instrument of purpose. Every day this rhythm compounds, invisible yet decisive, transforming life from random events into orchestrated destiny. Faith is not naive. Faith is disciplined. Faith is anchored in repeated visualization, in rehearsed success, in controlled emotion, in deliberate action. It is the engine that powers the hidden habit, drawing the currents of the universe toward alignment with internal mastery. The mind that practices this daily does not simply hope, it expects. It does not simply dream, it acts. It does not merely desire, it commands the subconscious to execute. And in this execution, reality bends, circumstance aligns, and the extraordinary manifests. Action is not sporadic. It is not impulsive. It is deliberate, precise, persistent, and informed by internal alignment. Every decision, every movement, every choice is guided by the architecture of thought constructed in the hidden habit. Obstacles, opposition, and delay do not deter. They instruct, refine, and reinforce. Every day, the practitioner rehearses mastery, affirms vision, calibrates emotion, and executes action, accumulating invisible momentum that manifests in tangible achievement. The rhythm is sacred, invisible, yet decisive. Self-mastery is the ultimate prize. The mind is disciplined, emotion is calibrated, desire is aligned, faith is anchored, action is precise, vision is clear, subconscious obedience ensures that internal alignment translates into external manifestation. The hidden habit, practiced daily, produces individuals who are not merely successful, but sovereign creators of reality, architects of circumstance, unstoppable forces moving through life with clarity, calm, and ferocity in perfect balance. Now, hear this clearly: the world will not wait. Opportunity does not linger. Circumstances will challenge, chaos will intrude, and fear will attempt to paralyze. But the hidden habit, practiced daily, equips you with invincible armor. It transforms obstacles into instruments, adversity into rehearsal, resistance into instruction, and desire into magnetic force. Your mind becomes a citadel, your soul a fortress, your vision a weapon of precision, and your actions instruments of unstoppable creation. Do not wait for inspiration. Do not rely on fleeting motivation. Do not seek external validation. Begin the hidden habit now, today, in silence, in reflection, in deliberate practice. Observe your thoughts, align your desires, visualize your victories, temper your emotions, persist through discomfort, execute action with precision, anchor faith in reason and clarity. Repeat daily. The cumulative force of this practice will shape reality, bend circumstance, and transform you into the individual who 99% of the world will never become. This is your summons to sit in the forge of your own mind, to confront fear, to master desire, to align thought, to discipline emotion, and to act with deliberate precision, to rise above chaos, distraction, and mediocrity, to claim sovereignty over your own consciousness and, through it, over the reality you inhabit. This is the hidden habit, invisible, relentless, sacred, and it is the decisive force separating the extraordinary from the ordinary, the creators from the spectators, the masters from the followers. Take this knowledge, commit to it, and practice it daily. Let no obstacle shake you. Let no delay frustrate you. Let no doubt unseat your alignment. Let the rhythm of observation, affirmation, visualization, rehearsal, calibration, and action become the engine of your life. Align your mind, master your emotions, focus your desires, anchor your faith, and execute with precision. Do this daily, and you will become the architect of your reality, the magnet of opportunity, the sovereign of circumstance, and the master of your own destiny. Rise now. Begin today. Enter the hidden habit. Forge your mind, command your subconscious, align your actions with vision, persist through adversity,